whispers of deceit.
Shadows dance on the walls.
Secrets they repeat. A shadow
I have the song memorized.
With
I know, I do too.
hiding truths in the shadows where no one dares to pry. Uncover the truth, let the lies come undone. Peel back the layers until the light is shown. Uncover the truth, let the shadows run. Break free from the chains and find the sun. Uncover the truth in the dead of the night, where secrets lie hidden like a whispered bite. Uncover the truth in the dim of the light, where betrayals take root in the heart of the fight. In the rain-soaked streets, under the moon's pale light, a crime unfolds with a twisted, sinister might. A knife in the dark, a scream that rings clear. Betrayal's cold hand in the heart of the deer. Through the fog and the mist, the truth we must see. In the shadows we find.
All right, enough of that. Let's get to this crazy lunatic son of Sam.
So what's the name of this new band that's out that's putting out all these big hits again? Rebel what?
Free Rebel, baby. Free
Yes,
Rebel.
Free Rebel. Wow. Just an incredible band. I like their stuff. I really like their
Very
stuff.
diverse. They do a lot of different types of music.
They do. Do a lot of different types of music. They're very, very, very versatile. Very creative. Big range. So
Huge.
very positive here. We're talking about none other on Bloodlines and Betrayal. I am your host, Steve Cully, the best podcast host in the universe. And he's saying yes to greatness, Coach Human. And we're talking about none other than the son of Sam himself, David Berkowitz. Just had a Netflix documentary came out, and a lot was revealed that was unknown. First, I did not know this. He was born Richard David Falco, and he was adopted. And this is what contributed to his hatred towards women and thinking that women were all overly sexualized, because his mother had him out of wedlock, and he was adopted. He was immediately put up for adoption, and his mother was with somebody else, and then his father married somebody else, and he spent a good portion of his life trying to find his birth mother after his real mother died. He was very close with his real mother, the mother who adopted him, and she died of cancer. So then he was on a crusade to find his birth mother. And once he did and found out the story, he was disappointed. He was disappointed at the way she looked. He was disappointed at her behavior, because his biological mother had premarital sex with someone that she wasn't with at the time, and that was disappointing for him to find out. He was really expecting to find closure, to find a purpose by meeting his birth mother and finding out his true story, because he always had an anger to him. He was always strange. He was always weird. And he was at a search to find out why. But unfortunately for him, when he found his birth mother, they reconciled, but it didn't last long, and he stopped talking to her. He was raised by his father primarily in the Bronx, his adopted father. And his adopted father then remarried, moved to Florida, and Berkowitz was kind of left to his own devices. I didn't know this either. He actually joined the United States Army. He served at Fort Knox, with an infantry division in South Korea. And he had an honorable discharge in 1974. And it was after that, this is when the chaos started. He located his birth mother, and she disclosed the details of his birth out of wedlock, and it disturbed him. And basically, this is what caused him to kind of boil over. And when you listen to his interviews on the Netflix documentary, he talks about feeling nothing for the people that he shot and the murders he committed. He got a rush from doing it, but he felt nothing for the victims. And so the first time he tried an attack, he used a knife. He was walking, he was following a woman on the bridge, and he tried to stab her, but her coat was too thick, and she got away from him. And from that point on, he switched to a handgun. And he was dubbed the 44 killer for most of his crimes, because the 44 at the time, was a big bullet. Like, cops used 38s. The 44 was a massive revolver, and it had a huge kick to it. So it wasn't hugely popular. It became popular when he started using it. So what happened, the other thing was, if people were nice to him, that changed his demeanor. Like, he told us story, he was out one night in the snow looking to commit a murder, and a car was stuck in the snow. And he pulled over, basically planning on murdering these people. And he didn't, because they asked for his help. They're like, hey, man, can you help dig us out? And he did. And they were nice to him, so he didn't kill him. He ended up killing someone else that night, but they were free because he, they were nice to him. He had he had a poor professional life. He went from job to job. He had a very poor social life. He didn't have a lot of friends. And that was the crux of it. I mean, he was basically alone, and he was going crazier and crazier in his own head. So the first shooting, technically attributed to Berkowitz, was in Pelham Bay, which is just outside of the Bronx. And it was in July 29th, 1976. Donna Loria, she was 18, an EMT, and Jody Valenta, 19, she was a nurse. They were just double parked in an Oldsmobile, and she opened the door to leave, and Berkowitz approached and took the gun out of a paper bag, crouched, and shot. I think they both survived. One of them was shot in the thigh. Oh no, the one was killed. Yeah, Loria was shot right in the head. She died instantly. The other one was shot. Valenti was shot in the thigh, and the third bullet missed. And then he just walked away. They did get sketches of him early on, and the sketches that were made were somewhat different, which also caused issues. But that was the first shooting. And the problem was, at this time, the police really had no way, even in New York City, with the different boroughs, of coordinating killings to see if they were related. And that is what, in part, took so long for them to identify that these murders were related to each other, which is crazy. Nowadays, they have so many different databases. They can plug in certain aspects of the crime, and it can come out if there was a crime somewhere else at a similar year or month, whatever. So the second killing, he waited until October of 1976. This was in Queens. He shot a Citibank security guard and Rosemary Keenan, a Queens college student. And it was the same thing. They're sitting in a parked car, and he would come up from behind them and shoot through the glass. And the one of them said they felt like the car exploded. And luckily, Keenan had the presence of mind to start the car, speed away for help. And the couple didn't even realize someone had been shooting at them, even though Carl De Niro, the security guard, was shot in the head. They thought it was injuries from the glass, but they got to the hospital in time, and he had a metal plate inserted in his head. Neither victim saw the attacker. But again, they got the bullets, 44 caliber. But again, they didn't communicate. They just thought it was an isolated incident. And that is what, again, prolonged his spree, so to speak. And New York City at this time, during the documentary, they showed pictures of it. It was just a disaster. There was a garbage strike, basically. They couldn't get garbage picked up. There were fires everywhere. I mean, the ESPN had to show the Bronx is burning. The Bronx was literally burning. New York City was a cesspool of fires, crime, drug use, and just trash everywhere. And New York City, it's the largest city in the world, used to have the most tourists. During the late 70s, it was completely deteriorating into hell on earth. So again, he's not slowing down. So we go August, October, now November of 76. He shoots 2 high school students who were chatting on the porch of one of their homes. And Berkowitz was in military fatigues, and he was smart. He approached them and he asked for directions. He asked, can you tell me how to get to? And then he pulled out his gun and he shot each victim once. He fired several more times, striking the house. He was not a good shot, to say the least. And again, the description was different. There was the eyewitness reported seeing a blonde man gripping a pistol in his left hand. Both survived, but one of them ended up being a paraplegic, and she had a really rough life after that and died a few years later. So then nothing happens until November of 76, January of 77. January of 77 is the next shooting. It was a secretary, Christine Freud. She was 26. Her fiance was a bartender, John Deal. And again, they're sitting in the car. And that's what irritated Berkowitz more than anything. If he saw a couple sitting in a car or in a lover's lane or doing, just talking, that would irritate him, and that would make him want to target them. So he shot 3 bullets into the car. Deal drove away for help, but the girl, Christine, was shot twice and died several hours later at the hospital. Neither victim saw their attacker. Now, this was the first time police made public acknowledgement and announcement that there was a connection between the cases, because now they're starting to put together, oh my God, 44 round bullets. They keep beginning to find them. And then they look at the targets. The women that were targeted all had long, dark hair. And they were starting to put together a connection. They had composite sketches. And, there were some officers who were on the fence that thought it was multiple people. And there were some that thought they had a serial killer. But they didn't want to alarm people and say that they had a serial killer. So this is January. March, he's back out again. He shoots a Columbia University student who was walking home from school.
Crazy.
When she was confronted by Berkowitz. And she lived about a block where that Christine Freud had been shot. In an attempt to defend herself, she put her textbooks up, but the bullet went right through the books and struck her in the head and killed her. So now there's pressure mounting on the police. And this is when, like I said, Joe Griffo talked about this mayor, Abraham Bean. He was the one who came on and I believe started to put the city back together. But he had a press conference and he said it was a .44 Bulldog revolver that had fired the shots that had killed multiple victims. And I believe they also showed a sketch. Now they couldn't be certain that it was from the same .44 Bulldog, but because the evidence was inconclusive. But the odds of all these people being killed by different .44 Bulldoggers, which were not relevant guns at the time, like not prevalent at all, was rare. So they thought it was the same. And it was in the media every day. I mean, that's what, if you watch the Netflix documentary, the detectives and the sergeants were like, God, the police were nonstop. The Post, the Daily News, the tabloid newspapers. I mean, graphic crime recording and commentary. And that's what was frustrating to them, was a lot of it was conjecture and commentary. Like nowadays with blogs and opinions, that's what they were doing because they were trying to keep the news cycle going. And that's what was frustrating the police, that, they were just putting out articles to put out articles. And Berkowitz got off on this. He had articles cut out in his house every day. He loved it. So, again, there's more shootings, April to July 1977, several shootings, and a couple more deaths at the scene, deaths at the hospital. Some people were able to get sketches of the attacker, others were not. And then Mr. Berkowitz starts to get bold. In May of 77, he starts writing letters.
Huh.
And he sent a letter addressed to New York NYPD Captain Joseph Borelli. Borelli was in the documentary. And this is where he didn't want to be called the .44 killer. He identified himself as the son of Sam for the first time because he didn't want to be called the .44 killer. And the son of Sam, it was basically, this is crazy. His neighbor was Sam, and his neighbor was just this old guy who had a dog, and the dog would bark and be loud and just be outside all the time, and it drove Berkowitz nuts. Berkowitz actually shot the dog. The dog survived, but he still called himself the son of Sam. And in one of the letters, he said that he was hurt, that he was being called a woman hater. He's not. He's not a monster, but I am the son of Sam. I am a little brat. When Father Sam gets drunk, he gets mean. He beats his family. So he's told that Sam loves to drink blood and go out and kill. So and he admitted he was doing this to kind of throw the police off. He was putting in all this different things like saying, Mr. Borelli, I don't want to kill anymore, but I must honor my father, Sam. And he loves the publicity because as soon as this comes out, it's in the paper. So he started to build a relationship with daily news columnist Jimmy Breslin. He got a handwritten letter claiming to be the 44 caliber killer, and it was postmarked from being in New Jersey. So that was again trying to throw the cops off. And the letter was crazy. He goes, "Hello from the gutters of New York City, which are filled with dog manure, vomit, stale wine, urine, and blood." And this is what he wrote him. And he was putting in little tidbits and clues about the murders that weren't released to the public.
Right.
So now they were starting to believe that it was him. And he also started doing signs and symbols, kind of similar to like what the Zodiac did.
Zodiac killer did, yeah.
Yeah. And the whole thing was Breslin wrote in his article basically calling him out, like challenging him. He said, "What will you have for July 29th, 1977?" which would be a year to the date of the first killing.
Right.
So they had a huge police presence all out, all over the city, and nothing happened. And then again, Breslin wrote and urged Berkowitz to surrender. So he didn't strike. He didn't strike again until he did in June of 77, and then the final shootings were on July 31st, 1977. Secretary Stacy Makowitz and clothing salesman Robert Violente, they were 20. They were, again, parked in a car.
These were Robert Lane's killings, right?
He would look for people that were parked in their car,
right,
a male and a female. And sometimes it would be two females, but he was really enraged by men, and he was enraged by women. And it all goes back to his mother.
I wish I could talk to him and tell him we all are.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like
dumbass.
My mother was irresponsible. She had premarital sex or sex out of wedlock and gave me up. And he said, so all these women are the same as her. And he had such a deep-seated hatred by his mother, which caused him to commit the murders.
Crazy.
So this shooting in the park.
You have a great voice for you could do
you said ASMR.
Yeah, but even better than that, you could do a show for like what's the show they do? Like you could be like a therapist almost.
I'm not a therapist.
You could be though.
I'm going by the Netflix documentary, what they said, but the serial killers I know about, I know about. I mean, I take an interest in them. It's fascinating to me reading about them, especially the ones that get away. So
how does he get away the whole time in the beginning?
Because, like I said, so he was using a 44 caliber.
Right, I remember you said, yeah.
But the murders were in several different boroughs of New York, and they weren't coordinating that they all could be related. Like if there was a 44 murder in Queens and a 44 murder at a precinct in the Bronx, they didn't necessarily know about each other. You know,
So that
unless
was
it was
before they didn't share information. Like now you would probably
there weren't databases back then.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
they had files, but there were no computers, there were no databases. I think the only way it got connected was with the media, with the New York NYPD captain reading that, okay, there was a 44 caliber murder in Queens, there was a 44 caliber murder in Yonkers, there's one in the
Soliciting help
Bronx.
almost.
So it's like, yeah, they're all related. What are the chances that there's multiple people running around with this gun? Because this gun was, like I said, it was not prevalent at the time. So these were the last two murders. Moskowitz died from her injuries, and Robert Violenti lost his left eye. So and this was when they were, they had a Son of Sam task force, and they were getting a ton of leads coming in, but the way he got caught is so, I find it hilarious. But he's done this for a year. He's killed multiple people, wounded others, and nobody has a trace of him. And nobody had a clue. I mean, they consulted with psychologists, psychiatrists, who came up with different ideas. I mean, one psychiatrist said that he was impotent, and women were calling in reporting men that he dated that were impotent. So the way that he got caught, a local resident was walking her dog at the same time the Moskowitz Violente shooting happened. And she saw an officer ticketing a car that was parked near a fire hydrant. And moments after the traffic police left, a young man walked past her walked past her and actually gazed at her with some interest. And she felt some concern because he appeared to be holding a dark object in his hand. She ran home, and I didn't even know this. He fired shots behind her in the street, and she never said anything for 4 days. And then she contacted police, and she said, "Hey, I was right by the murder scene. A man ran by me. He gazed at me awkwardly. I ran away, and then shots were fired behind me." And but he got in a car that was parked by a fire hydrant that was ticketed. So Berkowitz was driving a 1974 Galaxy, I believe that's what it was called. So on August 9th, the Yonkers Police Department called and asked to try to get Berkowitz in for an interview, or to try to get information about him. And it was so it was a detective, James Justice, telephoned the Yonkers Police Department to ask them to schedule an interview with Berkowitz. And the police dispatcher who took his call was Wheat Carr, who recognized the name David Berkowitz and said, "Let me tell you about him. I know him. He lives right behind me." And she told this detective, Judas, that Berkowitz shot and wounded the black Labrador retriever belonging to her father, Sam Carr. And when the detective heard Sam, he like turned pale. He's like, that's son of Sam, because he had a strong feeling that Berkowitz was the person they were looking for. So what are the odds of that? I mean, it's a
And,
it's
and,
a,
and they also wasn't there like a conspiracy thing with Sam Carr and his sons or whatever?
yeah, they were not the greatest people.
Devil worshippers.
Sam Carr was a drunk.
Okay.
His sons were bullies, alcoholics, but like not
Yeah, they
criminals.
died
I don't
young.
believe. But they irritated Berkowitz. So the following day, police investigated Berkowitz's car, which was parked outside his building, and this is even funnier. So they're looking at his car. In the back seat, they see his gun. They see the gun, and then they subsequently searched the car, and they found a duffel bag filled with ammunition, maps of the crime scene, and a threatening letter addressed to Inspector Timothy Dowd of the Son of Sam Task Force. So police waited for Berkowitz to leave his apartment rather than risk a confrontation, and because he lived in kind of a narrow hallway, they also had to get a search warrant for his apartment, and worried, their search might be challenged in court if they arrested him and searched without a warrant. So the first search of the vehicle was based because the gun was visible. The guy, I mean, this is a serial killer. He's leaving his gun in the back seat of his car. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Um, and he bought the gun legally. He actually drove out to I believe it was Kansas City or Vegas and bought the gun there, but the gun was purchased legally. So he exited his apartment at 10 o'clock and entered his car, and then he was arrested. Um, and then as he was arrested, he basically said, "Well, you got me." And then they took his gun, they took the ammunition, they did ballistics tests, and they found basically that all the bullets matched. And the detective Fallotico said to Berkowitz, "Now that I've got you, who have I got?" And Berkowitz goes, the man. The man said in what the detective remembered, a soft, sweet voice, um, "I'm Sam." And he goes, "Sam who?" And he goes, "David Berkowitz." So that's what was so strange. Like they thought his name was Sam, and then he's like, "No, I'm David Berkowitz." So they searched his. This is what I also didn't know. They searched his apartment. It was in complete disarray. There was satanic graffiti on the walls, and they found diaries he kept since he was 21 years old. 3 notebooks, basically, where he talks about hundreds of fires throughout New York City that he also had set. Like he was responsible for more than allegedly 2,000 arsons committed around the city. And in the Netflix documentary, when he was growing up, they said that he would set fires at his elementary school. He would just get a garbage pan and set it on fire, just to see what would happen. So soon after Berkowitz was arrested, they changed the name of the apartment building from 35 Pine Street to 42 Pine Street because they wanted to end the notoriety so it could be rented out again. uh, and he announced basically to the media. He said the people of the city of New York can rest easy because the police have captured a man who they believe to be the son of Sam. And he confessed. He was interrogated for 30 minutes. He confessed immediately. He pled guilty, and that was really it. And during the questioning, Berkowitz claimed his neighbor's dog was the reason he killed, stating the dog demanded the blood of pretty young girls. He said Sam, mentioned in the first letter, was his former neighbor, Sam Carr, and Carr's black Labrador was possessed by an ancient demon, which issued irresistible commands that Berkowitz kill people. So that just like wow, like if I don't know how detectives sat there and listened with a straight face to this. And yeah, and then now he comes out in September of 77. He can communicate with the press. He starts telling them he was this was a story of demonic possession. But closed with a warning interpreted by some investigators as an admission of criminal accomplices. And he said, there are other sons out there. God help the world. But at other press conferences, he said that the demonic possession claims were a hoax. And he had several meetings with a court-appointed psychiatrist basically to find out if he was competent. And the guy said that Berkowitz had long contemplated murder to get revenge on a world he felt rejected him, hurt him, and he told interrogators he planned to end his spree by going down in a blaze of glory at Hampton's nightclub. And one of the jobs he worked, he was a security guard, but he also was a postman. He worked as a postal worker too.
Shocking.
Yeah. So 3 separate mental health examinations determined he was competent to stand trial. His defense attorneys advised Berkowitz to apply to plead not guilty by reason of insanity, but he refused. He claimed in court he was of sound mind, and he pled guilty to all the shootings. And this is even more crazy. So at his sentencing 2 weeks later, Berkowitz caused an uproar. He attempted to jump out a window of the 7th floor of the courtroom. After he was restrained, he repeatedly claimed Stacy, who was his last victim, was a whore and shouted, "I'd kill her again. I'd kill them all again." Again, the court ordered another psychiatric examination after this. And Berkowitz started saying, I'm not well at all. But again, they found him competent to stand trial. Didn't matter. He was sentenced to 25 years to life to be served consecutively. And he's in Attica in upstate New York. Now, this was interesting. Prosecutors objected to this, but the terms of Berkowitz's guilty plea made him eligible for parole in 25 years. So none of that ever happened. He started basically in a psychiatric ward at Kings County Hospital. where he really started to get better. Um, when he was first taken to Sing Sing and then Clinton Correctional Facility for psychiatric and physical examinations, um, he was by me, Central New York Psychiatric Center in Marcy. That's right by where I live. Before he went to Attica, and he started to get better. He really did start to get better. In 1979, someone tried to shank him. He had 50 stitches. He got stabbed in the neck. Berkowitz refused to identify his assailant, claiming he was grateful for the attack. He said he deserves the punishment. And the reason being because in 1987 is when he comes out. And this is what most prisoners end up doing anyway. They find God. He becomes now. I don't know the difference. So you're a born again Christian. He said he became an evangelical Christian. Do you
Kind
know
of the same
the
thing.
difference?
Kind of the same thing.
Oh, it is. Okay. So he basically converted after reading Psalm 34:6 from the Bible given to him by a fellow inmate. He wanted to be referred to as the son of hope instead of the son of Sam. Um, he wanted to do an autobiography, but people would not help him write it. He developed some memoirs, and then he had statements that were released in a 1998 interview, Son of Hope, which, you know, some of the proceeds went to any of his royalties went to his victims. And so basically, every 2 years, he's mandated to get a hearing for his parole. So it basically before his first parole hearing in 2002, he sent a letter to Governor Pataki saying that it needs to be canceled because he said, in all honesty, I believe that I deserve to be in prison for the rest of my life. I have, with God's help long ago come to terms with my situation. I've accepted my punishment, and again, he's never been granted parole. He even stopped going to parole hearings. However, in 2016, he stated that while parole he knew was unrealistic, he felt he improved himself behind bars, adding, I'm not a risk. His lawyer noted that prison staff considered him to be a model prisoner. Commissioners, again, denied his parole. And then his 12th parole hearing was denied in May of 2024. Ahead of this hearing, he acknowledged to the New York Post that he knew he had no chance of being granted parole, but he still attended the hearing. He said that to not attend the hearing can be viewed defiant towards authority, and that's not me. Most of all, I attend in order to openly apologize for my past crimes and express my remorse. And his next parole hearing is May of 2026. So he's 72. He's been in jail 77, 87, 97, 40 something years. Like, this is where I just come into it. The money that we're spending to house this man behind bars. He's 72 years old. He's not a danger to society. Why not release him?
Yeah.
40 years.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's enough?
Well, he killed all these people. I don't think anything's enough. He's lucky he's not.
Yeah, no, he has. I agree. But when you're a senior citizen, you're 72 years old, and you're costing the state money to house you. Now, I agree. He killed 6 people He wounded 11. But hasn't he paid his debt to society? His
No,
sentence was 25 years to life.
not until he dies. Not until he dies 6 times over.
He has to die 6 times over to,
Yeah,
and he believes he's going to heaven. So he's not going to heaven either, even finding God.
I don't know. Well, according to Born Again, if they find God, the thing I have a hardest time with, but basically, God forgives you.
That's what I'm saying. God forgives everyone.
I don't know.
That's why I have the trouble. That's why I have trouble with this. That's why I have trouble with it. Because, he's a born again Christian. God forgives everyone. Um, he's been a model prisoner. The man's been in jail 40. God, it's almost going to be 50 years. Like, let him out. Like the guy who was it Mark David Chapman, the guy who tried to assassinate Reagan. He got let out.
Did he?
Yeah, and I get that he killed 6 people. I mean, most people associated with this are dead. I just don't see the point of keeping him in jail. I don't think he's a threat to society. I think that it's just a waste of taxpayers' money. But I mean, it was a crazy time in New York. I think you have to take into account he mentally was not there. He was mentally unstable. That has to matter, right?
Well, was that what they determined?
No, they didn't determine that. They said he was competent to stand trial. But I'm saying he's talking to a dog and writing letters. Like, he clearly is mentally out of it.
Yeah.
And once he got into that environment and got help, he became a different person.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I think that I do think that he should be released. And call me crazy all you want, but I think he should be released.
Call me
Out of
crazy.
that, yeah, I mean, out of everyone that we have covered for this guy, I mean, 50 years in prison? Like, he went to jail so young? Like, how can you not be reformed? Why are we paying the bills? That's my thing. Why pay the bills? Like, I understand other serial killers, that show no remorse, that don't try to better themselves. So crazy you're talking about this story. I'm reading the book. Yeah, it is crazy.
So crazy what?
Somebody commented that it's so crazy that we're talking about this because she's reading the book.
Oh, yeah.
But I just think it was a crazy time in New York history, which
Yeah.
played a huge part in it. And let him go.
Well, that's one way of thinking about it. I have to go and take my son to
I know
basketball.
you do. I know you do.
Why am I frozen? I don't know. But this was really, I think it's a wild case. It's
Very
so
wild.
it's so clear cut. But I did read some of the conspiracies about the
The occult, the satanic stuff.
the children cult.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have to.
I don't know what there is to it. There's not a lot of information on it, So
Well, there was a reporter obsessed with it who wrote several articles that it was trying to prove that it wasn't just him, that there were other
right.
members of this cult who were doing this. And he had several interviews with Berkowitz, and Berkowitz admitted to it, but they think he just didn't remember. But everything linked up. The ballistics showed it's from the same gun. So that's why I say there's not multiple Sons of Sam. It's the same fucking gun.
Yeah.
Sorry. Game
Yep.
over. I just
Yeah,
think
I
he should
agree.
be. I just think he should be released. So.
All right. Well, I gotta run.
Yep.
Great pod. I'll
All
hit you
right.
up. I'll hit you up in a little bit.
For Coach Schumann saying yes to greatness, Steve
Frozen.
Kelly, the podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them at the Son of Sam.
All right, I gotta run.